Welcome to the Starting Over podcast training series. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos. And in this episode, we are going to look at Incap, or Incapacitate. Incap, by far, is a very powerful, controlling, tempo managing power. It is one of those few abilities that allows the user to dictate what is going to happen on their opponent's turn, okay? And what figures that they can and cannot use. Incapacitate is a underused power at high level play, and at best at casual play is used moderately. Most people like to just think of direct damage and the impact of direct damage. But by doing something like that, you end up overlooking some greater subtleties in the game. So with that being said, let's look at Incapacitate. Give this character a close combat or ranged combat action to make an attack that deals no damage. If the attack hits, give the target an action token. All right, so the cool thing about Incapacitate is that you can running shot or charge and hit a figure and do Incapacitate. Another thing that is really awesome is that once you hit that character with an action token, if they already have an action token on them, you can push them if they don't have willpower or indomitable or power cosmic or quintessence. Okay, so that is essential because when you're starting to deal with team abilities such as mystics, arachnos, or just any sort of, hey, you did something, you did damage to me, I can affect you powers, such as Master Mode's Retribution Virus, you can get around those because you didn't do damage to the figure. You dealt 0 damage. The damage came from the pushing effect. Okay. The next thing about Incapacitate that is really awesome is when you start to think about it. By putting a token on your opponent's figure, what you said to your opponent is, I have, by getting this attack in, taken 1 turn away from you in activity if you have no means of removing this token. And that can be powerful once you're starting to deal with 1-man teams, 2-man teams, and 3-man teams. When you see teams that are very small, Incapacitate can be devastating. Let's say you have a situation where you have a tentpole team where there's just one big attacker and a bunch of little support. By using Incapacitate, you can pretty much just make it so that that figure only has 1 turn to attack. Just that 1 turn attack, and they can't do anything else. And let's say they have indomitable. So they run in, attack. Let's say hypothetically they miss. You come in, incapacitate that huge figure. Next turn they would have an attack. Now they have to clear. So it forces also that big attacker to go after the incapacitator, because the incapacitator now is a threat because he is limiting the amount of damage output that big tentpole figure is trying to generate. So Incapacitate can be an offensive power, but is primarily a defensive power because it limits your opponent's options, and it also allows you the potential to control tempo in the game. And tempo control is essential because if you can sort of say, I'm not going to let you do X, or I'm not going to let you do Y, and you're going to have to think of something else or take more actions to do the same effect, then you can control tempo. So you might be asking yourself, Dark Logos, what type of figures should I be looking for with Incapacitate? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, you can't use Incapacitate with hypersonic speed, but you can use it with charge, and you can use it with running shot. So with charge, you're just mainly looking at the same elements that you had with Quake. You're looking for figures with shape change, super senses, impervious, invulnerability, something that allows them to stay alive after they charge and incapacitate. The next thing that you're looking for is with a ranged attacker. It's really good that you can set up a situation similar to energy explosion, is that the more targets, the better. You don't just want one target incapacitate. You want to have 2 or 3 target incapacitates, because if you can lock up 2 or 3 figures on that person's team, how powerful can you be? One of the best figures for this is like Veteran Kid Quantum, 3 target incapacitate, Legion of Superheroes figure. So you really want to have a very, very high attack either way it goes with incapacitate, because you don't get to ignore defensive powers, and you still have to deal with energy shield, deflection, and close combat reflexes or any other stat modifications that your opponent might have, and you really need it to hit. So what I want you to do is, for this time around, I want you to do something quite interesting. And this is weird, and I'm going to be combining a future element that we haven't talked on quite yet. But I want you to find a figure that's two ranged incapacitate figures, or you can do a ranged in a close combat incapacitate figure. But I want you to find 2 incapacitate figures. Make sure your ranged one has running shot, and preferably 2 targets. 3 target incapacitate is really hard to find, but if you can find 2 target incapacitate. What I want you to do is I want you to combine those 2 incapacitate figures, and I want you to either be able to give those figures the ability to attack 2 or 3 turns in a row without taking damage. Okay, so you might be saying, how can I do this? If they don't have willpower, you can put in Harvey Dent from Dark Knight Rises, or preferably, just for a little bit more of a training regimen, to make it a little bit more classic, see if you can combine leadership. As it stands now, on a 5 or 6, it can remove tokens from friendly characters of a lower point value. So using leadership, you will be able to go out there, and after that figure running shots incapacitates, at the beginning of your next turn, you can possibly remove the token so that that figure can keep taking actions. Okay? So I want you to try that. Do 1 game. Don't do 2 or 3 games. Just do 1 game, because what you're going to find out real quickly is stacking incapacitate can lock down your opponent for other game-changing effects. Now, this is going to be really big in a couple of episodes or iterations from now, of you seeing the benefit of having a locked down opponent. All right, that's pretty much it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.